Donald Trump just dropped a political bombshell that no one saw coming, and the shock waves are shaking America to its core. A federal court has struck down his sweeping tariffs, calling them unconstitutional. And on top of that, he's just yanked away Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection, leaving critics furious and supporters cheering. But here's where it gets wild. Joe Rogan's take on this is blowing up the internet. Rogan doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't bow down to politics. He says what millions of people are thinking but don't dare to say out loud. And when Trump makes moves like this, Rogan's raw reaction becomes a megaphone for the truth that mainstream media won't touch. So what's really going on here? Is Trump exposing flaws in America's system, or is he pushing the country toward chaos? And why is Rogan's voice in this storm so important that people can't stop sharing it? Stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you'll see exactly why Trump just shook America and why Joe Rogan's reaction might be the most honest one you'll hear anywhere. Donald Trump's economic policies have always been bold, risky, and designed to shake the status quo. One of his biggest power plays during his presidency was the imposition of sweeping tariffs, massive taxes on imported goods that Trump claimed would protect American workers and bring manufacturing back to the U.S. For years, this move has divided economists, politicians, and everyday citizens. Supporters said it was about time America stopped getting ripped off by foreign markets. Critics said it was reckless and harmful to global trade. And now, just recently, a federal appeals court delivered a stunning blow. Judges ruled that many of Trump's tariffs were unconstitutional, saying he had gone beyond the authority granted to him by law. This isn't just a technicality, it's a direct challenge to Trump's style of leadership. For a man who thrives on bending the system to his will, being told you can't do that is explosive. Joe Rogan, reacting to this news, didn't hold back. On his podcast, he broke down the core of the issue. Whether you like Trump or not, you can't ignore the fact that he plays a different game. The system is designed for slow, careful moves, and Trump smashes through it like a bulldozer. That's why people either love him or absolutely hate him. Rogan pointed out something most analysts miss. Trump's tariffs weren't just about economics, they were about power. By imposing them so aggressively, Trump was sending a signal to the world. America comes first, no matter what. And that's the exact mentality that gets his supporters fired up. But here's the kicker: even though the court struck down the tariffs, the ruling doesn't take full effect until October. That means for now, Trump's policies are still standing, and he has time to challenge the decision in the Supreme Court. If he wins there, it would be a massive victory that cements his image as the man who bends institutions to his will. If he loses, it gives his critics more ammunition to call him reckless and authoritarian. Either way, Rogan is right about one thing: Trump doesn't play by the rules of traditional politics. He thrives on chaos, and this latest court battle is just another arena where he gets to show the world that he refuses to back down. If the tariff ruling wasn't enough to set the political world on fire, Donald Trump dropped another bombshell. He revoked former Vice President Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection. For context, most top officials, especially a former VP, are extended security privileges long after leaving office. It's considered part of tradition, part of safety, and part of respect for the position. But Trump isn't known for respecting political traditions, he's known for breaking them. The announcement landed like a thunderclap. Effective September 1st, Harris will no longer have the protection she's relied on for years. Critics are calling it reckless and politically motivated, especially since she's about to embark on a major book tour. The move sparked outrage across social media, with commentators warning that this could endanger not only Harris but also set a dangerous precedent for how America treats former leaders. And then came Joe Rogan's raw reaction. On his podcast, he didn't mince words. This is insane. Whatever you think about Kamala Harris politically, stripping away her security is a dangerous game. It's not about politics, it's about safety. If something happens, it's not just her problem, it's America's problem. Rogan's take resonated because it cut through the partisan noise. While some Trump supporters celebrated the move as a way to cut government costs and stop giving perks to failed politicians, Rogan called out the bigger picture. America thrives on stability. When leaders, even ones you disagree with, are stripped of basic protections, it signals that politics has become a gladiator match with no rules. Trump, of course, defended his decision. He claimed it was about accountability and fairness, saying taxpayers shouldn't be footing the bill for someone he views as irrelevant in today's political landscape. His critics, however, say this is Trump at his most dangerous, using presidential power not just for policy, but for personal vendettas. And here's the twist: Whether you agree with Trump or not, the move has kept him at the center of the national conversation. Once again, he controls the headlines, and once again, Joe Rogan's blunt reaction has amplified the debate. Because when Rogan speaks, millions listen, not just to agree, but to think about the issue from a human, unfiltered perspective. At the end of the day, this moment isn't just about Kamala Harris's security. It's about the kind of political climate America is stepping into, one where power isn't just exercised, it's weaponized. And that's exactly why Trump is shaking America in ways no one else can. Trump has always thrived on chaos, not by following the rules, but by rewriting them. And if the tariff showdown and Kamala Harris security scandal weren't enough, his latest set of executive moves are sparking a whole new debate about how much power a president should really have. One of the most controversial is his push to reinstate presidential impoundment. That's a fancy term for something simple, refusing to spend money that Congress has already approved. Imagine Congress passing a bill to fund schools, healthcare, or infrastructure, and the president saying, "Nah, I'm not spending that." It's like giving the president the ultimate veto power after the fact. Critics argue it breaks the constitutional balance of power. Supporters say it's a way to stop wasteful spending. And then there's his bold move to take federal control of Washington, D.C.'s Union Station. On the surface, it's about improving security and infrastructure at one of the busiest travel hubs in the country. But underneath, it's Trump once again centralizing authority, putting a landmark under his administration's direct control. To his supporters, it's proof that he's decisive and willing to get things done. To his critics, it's another example of him overreaching, tightening his grip on power wherever he can. Joe Rogan, reacting to these kinds of moves, hit the nail on the head. On his show, he said, "This is what people both love and fear about Trump. He doesn't wait for permission, he acts." Most politicians are paralyzed by committees, votes, and red tape. Trump just decides. The problem is, when one guy has that much control, it can either save the system or break it completely. And that's exactly the tension. To some, Trump represents a leader who cuts through the nonsense of bureaucracy and puts America first. To others, he looks like a man tearing apart the very safeguards that protect democracy. Rogan's analysis works because it's not about left versus right, it's about what happens when power goes unchecked. At the heart of it, Trump's latest executive maneuvers prove one thing: he isn't interested in being a normal president. He's interested in leaving his mark by any means necessary. Whether that mark will be remembered as bold leadership or dangerous overreach, that's the debate America's stuck in right now. When you zoom out, all of Trump's recent moves start to paint a clear picture. This is a man who refuses to play politics the traditional way. Whether it's tariffs, revoking Secret Service protection, or grabbing more executive power, every decision follows the same pattern. Trump does what he wants and forces the system to either bend or break around him. That's why he trends. That's why people can't stop talking about it. Joe Rogan's reaction cuts right to the core of this. He says Trump operates like a disruptor, not a politician. Most leaders negotiate, compromise, and water down their policies until nothing is left. Trump, on the other hand, makes moves that are so bold, they demand attention. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. And that's the exact quality that keeps him at the center of America's conversation. But Rogan also warns that this approach is dangerous. Power without limits can backfire. Taking away Kamala Harris's security, for example, isn't just a political jab. It risks real consequences. Ignoring Congress's decisions on spending might look tough, but it erodes the checks and balances that keep democracy alive. This duality, Trump as a fearless leader versus Trump as a reckless risk-taker, is exactly why he divides America like no one else. Rogan nailed it when he said, "The same qualities that make him powerful are the same ones that make him terrifying." And here's the truth: Trump shaking America isn't about a single decision, it's about the ripple effect. Every move creates a wave that forces people to choose sides, forces the media to chase his story, and forces rivals to react to his game. He controls the narrative because he is the narrative. That's why he's trending. That's why Rogan's words resonate. And that's why this moment feels bigger than just politics. It feels like America standing at a crossroads, deciding whether Trump's brand of leadership is its future or its downfall. Donald Trump is no stranger to controversy. In fact, controversy has been his fuel for decades. Whether you're talking about business, entertainment, or politics, Trump has mastered one skill better than almost anyone else: the ability to stay at the center of attention. And his latest string of decisions, from the tariffs ruling to revoking Kamala Harris's protection, to flexing executive power, prove that he hasn't slowed down. If anything, he's more disruptive than ever. But here's the thing, Trump's story isn't just about politics. It's about human nature. It's about what happens when someone refuses to follow the rules that everyone else accepts. Most people live their lives quietly, avoiding conflict, hoping to please others. Trump, he thrives on conflict. He invites, and in doing so, he forces the world to pay attention. That's exactly why Joe Rogan's reaction has resonated so strongly. Rogan isn't a politician. He's not someone with an agenda to push. He's an observer of culture, someone who sits back, listens, and then says the things everyone else is too scared to say. And when he looked at Trump's latest moves, he boiled it down to one truth. Trump doesn't wait for permission. He acts. Think about that for a sec. How many of us in our own lives are stuck waiting for permission, waiting for someone to tell us it's okay to chase our dream, to speak our mind, to take the leap? Trump, for better or worse, doesn't wait. That's why some see him as fearless, while others see him as reckless. It's also why Rogan calls him both powerful and dangerous at the same time. The tariffs ruling shows this perfectly. Most leaders would have quietly accepted trade policies, debated them endlessly, and moved on. Trump, he slapped down tariffs so massive that courts are still fighting over them years later. That's not careful politics, that's raw, unfiltered action. And when the court told him he overstepped, Trump doubled down, promising to fight all the way to the Supreme Court. Whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit, he doesn't fold under pressure. Then there's the Kamala Harris decision. To millions of people, revoking her Secret Service protection looked cruel and vindictive. But to Trump it was a power move. He sent a message, no special privileges, no free rides. Joe Rogan's response here was powerful, reminding his audience that leadership isn't just about flexing power, it's about responsibility. Safety matters. Stability matters. Even if you despise someone politically, stripping them of basic security can tear at the fabric of democracy. That's the balance Trump constantly challenges. Strength versus stability. And finally, the executive power grabs, reinstating impoundment, seizing Union Station, consolidating authority. All of it shows Trump's instinct to control. To some, that looks like a leader finally cutting through red tape. To others, it looks like authoritarianism in action. Rogan's analysis here was blunt. The system wasn't built for one man to hold all the cards. And yet, Trump keeps finding ways to hold them anyway. So where does that leave America? More divided than ever, yes, but also more awake than ever. Love him or hate him, Trump forces people to care. He forces them to choose sides. He forces conversations that most politicians would rather avoid. And that's why his presence is so electrifying. He exposes the cracks in the system, the hypocrisy in politics, and the fear in his rivals. But here's the part that matters most for us beyond politics. What can we learn from this chaos? Because whether you support Trump or despise him, there's a lesson in his playbook. And Joe Rogan, in his way, puts his finger on it. Bold action changes everything. Playing safe keeps you invisible. Playing bold makes you impossible to ignore. Maybe you don't need to be Trump-level controversial in your own life, but you do need to stop waiting for permission. You need to stop letting fear of criticism hold you back. Look at how Trump operates. The world screams, the media attacks, rivals plot against him, and yet he keeps moving forward. That's persistence. That's resilience. And whether you agree with his politics or not, that's a quality worth learning. At the end of the day, Trump just shook America because he refuses to be silent. And Joe Rogan's voice matters here because he reminds us to strip away the noise and ask the deeper questions. What does this mean for freedom? What does this mean for power? And most importantly, what does this mean for us as individuals? Because here's the truth. Leaders rise and fall. Controversies come and go. But the principle remains. Those who take bold action shape the future. Those who wait on the sidelines get left behind. So as America debates Trump's latest moves, ask yourself, what's the move you've been afraid to make? What's the step you've been postponing? Waiting for the right time? Maybe the lesson here is simple. Don't wait. Don't overthink. Act. Because whether the world loves you or hates you, the only way to shake things up, in politics, in life, in your own path to peace, is to move boldly. And maybe that's why Trump will always trend. Because in a world where everyone else whispers, in a world where most people hesitate, he acts. And that's why, for better or worse, Trump just shook America, and the aftershocks are only beginning.